everyone, and welcome to Thursday Live Lessons here on UkuleleUnderground.com. My name is Aldrine Guerrero, joined by Mr. Aaron, the voice Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron.
What's up?
And by Mr. Kahai, the legend Fergan. Say what's up, Kahai.
What's up?
I should rename you to the responsible one, Aaron Nakamura, because the reason why Aaron is sitting here is because we were supposed to do our songs were due today, Kahai. Yeah. Our songs were due today. And if you guys don't know, here on Thursday Live Lessons, we usually do a songwriting challenge. And we give ourselves 2-3 weeks to complete them. And then whenever we complete them, we give you guys an extra week to kind of, to do them as well. So we give you guys the chords, we give you guys the styles and stuff. Just pretty much a guideline of what the songwriting challenge is. And then you go do it yourselves also. So it's kind of fun. We all kind of do it together. But I come into the office today and I'm like, oh no, I saw how the chairs were arranged. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't write my song. I mean, I wrote something, but it's not enough. And my past few songs have been super like short and lame. So I'm like, nah, I kind of want to try it. I kind of want to give this one the old college try. So I don't have mine. And Kai, I'll let you explain yourself.
Yeah.
Kai had a song.
Yeah,
I was working
just
on my song.
Didn't do it.
Yeah, I was working on my song,
Yeah.
and I actually posted like bits of what I had done to the U Plus forum.
Yeah.
Because me and Alan were talking on the U Plus forum about posting as we're going through and working on it, updates.
The progress, yeah.
Yeah, and I have some of it done, but then when I tried to turn on my computer that I work on the song on yesterday, it wouldn't turn on. And then I spent all yesterday trying to fix that computer, and it is just gone.
Oh.
I have to get a new part for it or something to fix it. So
yeah, mine too. I was working on it on my computer, and it just fried. I don't know. There was a goblin that came out of the of the tower. I was like, what? Have you been there the whole time?
Yeah. So
it was awesome too. Trust me, guys. That song was great.
It's so good.
I need to just write a song about the song that I wrote.
Yeah,
even
a tribute to that song that I wrote.
So even the song that I was working on, I probably won't get done by next week because I need a whole new motherboard for my computer. So I'll probably write something else. Just
give us an acoustic taste, maybe.
Yeah.
An acoustic taste.
Yeah.
You give us an acoustic.
I'll just write something on my guitar or something else, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do it in the what are those little things that you gave me for Christmas?
What are they called?
What are they called?
They're by Teenage Engineering, and they're called
pocket operators.
Yeah.
Something dude, I was thinking of buying another one and connecting it with the one that I had because I've been watching these videos online and stuff. And they're my goodness, they make some amazing stuff. I was like, oh, because I can make some pretty cool stuff with the one that I have, but when people link them, it's pretty awesome. Anyway, so if you guys are wondering what we're talking about, if you guys are watching this as a replay, the show notes should be below, and there should be a link to what we're talking about. Anyway, Thursday Live Lesson is a place where we answer any and all of your ukulele questions or non-ukulele questions, whatever it may be, whatever we can answer as a collaborative team, myself, Aaron, and Kahai, whatever you guys want to ask us, via email, via UU Plus forums, via anything really. We are live, so it's Thursday Live Lesson. We do have a live chat. Utilize the live chat and ask us some questions, and we'll answer them as best as we can. So I'm going to answer them, and these two guys will come in, put their 2 cents in there. We'll come up with a super answer for you, nice, hot, and freshly baked. Right? I'm gonna give you a baker's dozen answers.
Yeah, I never understood I never understood baker's dozen.
Oh, it's 13.
13,
right?
yeah,
13.
yeah.
I don't know. One
But
for the
dozen,
one for taste.
yeah.
Man, this is fine. So I guess I'll put the dozen out. Speaking of which, Uncle Ian, thank you for the donuts this morning.
Is that wait, when you go to a bakery and you ask for a baker's dozen, do they give you 13, or is that just
I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I've never gotten 12 of anything. If I go to a bakery, it's I'm gonna get one of each kind of thing. I'm not gonna get a dozen. Give me a dozen of whatever.
We also don't have a ton of bakeries here in Kauai.
No,
we have a few.
Daylight Donuts.
Yeah,
and there's
Kauai Bakery.
Kauai Bakery, and there's Love's. And that's it.
There's
Love's is pretty good though. Shout out to Love's. Please sponsor us. We would love some bread.
There's one across of Tip Top too, right?
Yeah, which one's that?
I forget what they're called.
Oh, they're like a special bakery place, like Kokoro. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Kokoro?
They made
Oh.
my sister's like cake and like
Oh, cool.
stuff for
Yeah,
her
they do
wedding.
like specialty puffs and whatnot. All right, this has nothing to do with ukulele, so let's go to the live chat and see if we can get an ukulele question going. Hi.
So there was this is actually a question that somebody emailed me. So John said, I played. Let me see. Where is it? Where does it start? Or I played the 5-string banjo many years ago, and I adopted a 3-finger style of picking using the thumb, pointer, and middle.
Mhm.
I use the ring and pinky for anchoring. In addition, as much as possible, I try to position my hand so that the picking fingers pick the string at a perpendicular angle. This all seems to work well in the rolling action of the 3-finger pick.
Yeah.
I find the use of the ring finger in picking feels awkward and does not give that anchoring stability to the picking hand. I would be interested in your thoughts about this. Are there any advantages or disadvantages to this? 4-finger picking seems to be unnecessary on a 4-string instrument.
I mean, that's a
Really?
guy I agree with 1,000%.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, preaching to the choir, man. I love everything you just said, because everything you just said is 1,000% like what I mean. I try to
Your
like,
style.
yeah, my style
Yeah.
of playing ukulele. You know, like it's these 3 fingers. A lot of people will tell you like, oh, use 4 because there's 4 strings and stuff. But especially reentrant like ukulele, I would say that 4 is redundant. You know, that this ring finger is redundant. And I always explain it this way to people: when's the last time you used your ring finger for anything? You know, and the reason why it's because if we were to use all 4 fingers and kind of assign a different string to each finger, we would have it our ring finger on the A string, which most, if not all, of my melody line is coming from. And since I don't know when the last time I used my my right hand ring finger on anything, but you know, it's not gonna be the strongest finger. I don't want to put my my most important string, you know, with all the melody lines in it, to my, you know, least used finger. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to delegate it that way. So I use these 3 because, you know, driving around Kapa, I do use my middle finger a lot, so that gets a lot of use. No, I'm just kidding. Like, I mean, you know, these 3, they're so strong. They're, you know, I can control these 3 fingers rather well and stuff, and I don't mind using my middle finger for that A string, and whenever possible I use that middle and the pointer, you know, for the A string whenever possible. So I have 2 of my strongest fingers on my right hand ready for the the main melody line string, and the thumb just kind of uses, you know, I use the thumb as kind of a what is it called, like a drone for the G, just like how you would with a banjo or with a, you know, or any of those kind of instruments and stuff with reentrant, and going from C and G, kind of using the G as more of a technique, kind of like, you know, like the kind of G pull off, just like how you would with a banjo. And when I'm doing, you know, when I'm droning with C, it's usually to kind of use as a bass line. So I have the choice between using a bass line or kind of droning an extra note in there if I want to do some technique. So everything that you said is 100%, 1,000%, 1,000,000% correct as far as myself, especially the anchoring. A lot of people will kind of tell you that, you know, don't anchor your fingers and stuff, because, you know, like, I've seen this a lot, especially guitar players will tell you like, oh, don't anchor your fingers in there, you're gonna dampen the sound, you're gonna do all this stuff, and we've talked about this ad nauseum before. But I like to use my pinky finger, not really my pinky and ring finger, you know, if that's what you like to do, more power to you and stuff, but I just like to use my my pinky, because my pinky is going to be enough to keep it stable, because, you know, these 3 fingers are gonna go like all over the place. A lot of the times the picking patterns tend to get kind of intense. So if my pinky finger is there, it can get as intense as it wants to, and it's still going to be stationary. You know, I'm not gonna move it too high up. It's not gonna be too far down, so on and so forth.
Using your pinky too also leaves your, like, I know you said you didn't like to use your ring finger, but it leaves it open for like doing like certain.
For if I have to go with 4, if I have to like hit, you know, like all 4 strings at the same time, it gives me that option. Yeah. Like
there's some U plus solos where I know people are kind of confused on like you do like an arpeggio with all 4 of your fingers, to like kind of. But then at that usually when you're doing that kind of thing, then the melody isn't like there. It's not a part of that part, or it's not on the A string, right? So you're not really like worried about it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times where I use my pinky finger as like kind of as a beat 1 or any kind of beat accent and stuff. I would like kind of use this to do that, and we just did a whole new world. So this pinky works out because as soon as that's done accenting the the chord that I want to accent, I can just kind of drop it there, and then it leads me to the finger picking. So it like one action goes to the other. It's really like a great technique. I forgot how to do it.
That's also a thing too, is that anchoring your pinky is like it's not necessarily a bad technique, and it is like it does actually help with stability, but you don't also want to be the person who like they can't play if they don't anchor their pinky.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because right now when you're playing that, you're moving from like when you have to strum, you let go of the anchor and then you put it back down and stuff. So you want to be able to like be fluid with moving back and forth between that.
Yeah, but everything that you said, absolutely spot on. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're in the right track.
So in addition to that, he also asked, or he said, I use a plastic thumb pick and 2 metal picks when I play banjo. I've never tried that on ukulele. I heard Aldrine discuss about using a plastic thumb pick. Has he ever tried the metal finger picks just to experiment?
I have, but then the metal finger picks usually are kind of curved this way, like it's sorry for you audio listeners and stuff. It's kind of from the pad to the nail. If you think about it that way, it's kind of going from the pad to the nail. And usually, like when you do finger picking, you're finger picking up, right? So I don't really like to use them because it limits it limits what I can do. It's gonna limit me from using my pointer finger as a strumming thing, because if I have that pick on my pointer finger and if I strum, it's gonna catch on the down strum, because it's kind of it's curved this way, right? So because it's curved that way, if I do my down strum, it's gonna catch up right on the side. So it limits it to just doing finger picking. I don't mind using the thumb thing, and I've been seen to use thumb picks and stuff, which is totally fine. But those finger picks, I wouldn't really go for it because it limits what I can do. Banjo, that's totally fine because that's kind of the whole thing, right? But with ukulele, finger picking is just like a small percentage of like what this whole thing can do, or what this thing should be able to do. It's like strumming is pretty much one of the like best things that you can do with the ukulele, and especially reentrant ones, because it gives you that ability to get kind of the same sound whether you strum down or up. So based on that, you can do a lot of really cool like rhythm patterns on the ukulele strumming wise. So you don't want to limit yourself with that pick.
That's why it's kind of funny when people say like come into Ukulele Underground and they say, I only want to learn how to pick. I don't want to learn how to strum. Strumming is boring.
Strumming,
and
go away. Strum, go away.
It's like it's okay, but you're kind of like cutting off like half of what you can do. You're just saying like, oh no, I don't want half. I just want whatever, which is fine. But just know that. So yeah. But like he should, if he wants to experiment with trying those metal finger picks.
Yeah, you can. I mean, we're not telling you not to, but like if you're asking me for my opinion and stuff, and that's why I don't use them. Yeah. But you can go ahead if your style is gonna be primarily just finger picking and stuff, and you can make it work. By all means, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've kind of said that before. Yeah. Like ukulele is not one of those instruments where there is like a very strong you
have to play
it this way. To play it this way. It's not like classical guitar players where like there's a strong
you're not playing it like
heritage
this.
of exactly how you're supposed to play a classical guitar. Ukulele is very free form, and people do all kinds of weird stuff with it, and some weird and amazing stuff too. So like if you want to try doing things,
chopsticks.
Yeah. Most famously, I think James Hill with his chopsticks. where it wasn't ever done before, and then he did it, and then now everybody wants to
Im-
be able to
imagine,
do that. But like,
imagine if we got that question on Thursday Live Lesson without having seen like, or if he never did that, and someone came up to us and said like, I was thinking about shoving chopsticks into my my ukulele and just kind of banging on it and stuff. Like,
the answer would
like,
be the
what?
same too. Like, just try it.
Try it, I guess.
Go-
Yeah, try it, I guess.
go for
Go
it.
crazy. I mean, I wouldn't, but if you can come up with something good, and then look where he's at now. So, yeah.
But yeah, so it's like that where if you like playing your ukulele the way that you play it,
Go
then
ahead.
that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's not hindering you from doing what you want to do with the ukulele.
Right.
If you run into anything where it's like, I can't do what I have in my head for what I want to do with my ukulele, then you might have to adapt in order to do it.
I think,
Or figure out that it's impossible. But I mean, most things that you can kind
At
of
least try it,
imagine,
yeah.
you can try and see if it's possible.
I think a lot of times like people will try like piano or classical guitar or violin, and they feel like the lessons are like stiff and really like they tell you exactly what to do and stuff, and they're like, oh, but it's like so
Only use this finger for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then a lot of times I think too, like those teachers, they don't necessarily will tell you like, oh, you want to do this because it's like all about like efficiency of motion or something, they don't explain the why. So there is like good reasons why they teach you that way.
Yeah.
And I think like too, like some of the stuff that we tell people like, oh, you want to try and do it like this. It's like a lot of times it's like, it's just efficiency, or it's because it produces this kind of tone that's what you're trying to go for, like, or that's what you're asking us you're trying to go for. So to do that, like, this is what we found to be the best way. But still, it's like,
still can do whatever you want, whatever feels comfortable for you. I mean, we have an example on Thursdays, like today. We usually have what's called the one-on-one coaching, and on the one-on-one coaching, we have a younger kid, that goes there, and he strums with his middle finger. He goes like this, and like when he plays, and like I've kind of said it all like constantly, like in passing, like, oh, maybe we can start using your pointer now, or maybe more fingers. But he keeps doing it. But I'm not gonna tell him like, no, stop that. Use your pointer, young
just
man.
more
And it's like,
comfortable
no,
for
exactly.
him
If that's what
in
that's what he's doing, he's making beautiful music. He sings really well and stuff. He strums, and he's having fun with it. I'm not gonna go and tell him that what he's doing is wrong, because it's not. Like he's making music, and I think that's the point, right? Like to of playing ukulele is making music. If he's doing it that way, more power to you. But I think later on, as he improves, he's gonna realize that, oh, maybe I should start using more. But until that time comes,
and then by that point too, it'll probably be kind of easy to switch. It's not like super hard to switch.
Right.
Well, like you've also said that you kind of like you'll watch Jake do something, and then you won't get like a clear idea of what he's doing, but you're like, I think he's doing something like this.
That's true.
And you do the technique, right? And until you like actually see or talk to Jake, he's like, oh, this is what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like kind of close, but I was just like a little off.
But experimenting and trying stuff is like a huge part of improving.
That's kind of like the same story I heard of like DJ Qbert. Like because before, like, there's no videos, right? No videos of other people DJing or anything. So they just hear recordings of other people DJing, and they're like, oh, I think he's doing this. And then when they would meet each other, they'd be like, what are you doing? Why? No, I don't do that at all. You're doing it completely different from me. But it's like, oh, that's pretty cool though. It makes a different sound. So like I'll add that and I'll trade it with you. It ends up becoming like new things too.
Yeah. Well, there was a song like on the Pure Heart album where I think it was Mark figured it out. It was like I think it was like a harmony. Like, how are they doing that harmony? And he was playing it all at once. But in the recording, they just like recorded it separately. It was something like that. I think where he figured out, or I don't know what song it was. Yeah, there was like a song where he heard it and he was like, how is he doing that? And he figured out a way to play it both at the same time. But then he like come to find out later that they just recorded it separately. But like now Mark or or whatever, you guys can play it better than the original person because they wouldn't be able to do that all at once.
I mean, I don't know if it's the right one, but I have an example of that. I don't know if this is the one, which is G minor fleas. Because G minor fleas was a duo between Herb Walter Jr. and Brian Tolentino.
Maybe it was that.
They used to, I mean, Makalea, when it was just Mark and Ryan and Mike, like, used to play that song, and, you know, he's just listening to it. Like, he doesn't know that it's
didn't know that it was two
like
people.
two guys, like, playing it. So he played it, like, so instead of going... And then the next one is a...
Yeah,
like he just played it like that
because
but then
that's
it's
what
like
he heard.
Yeah, Brian and you know. And,
it was
it wasn't until I joined the band
that you guys could do the both. Two separately.
So he was trying to do that. I was like, oh, there's two parts. You know, there's two parts, right? And then like I played the bottom one. He's like, oh my god, I've been playing like this the whole time. I'm like, just stop trying. Don't stop working so hard. Like,
maybe that's what it was that I was thinking of, but.
Yeah. But it might be something else because he's done that a bunch. Like, a bunch of different songs.
Where he heard two people playing, and he just thought that it was one person playing, and then he figured that out. Whereas prior to that, nobody had ever done it at the same time.
But like trying that, it didn't make him like a worse player.
It makes you a better player. In fact,
so it's definitely something that. If there's like something you want to try, like you should just do it. Don't let somebody else tell you.
Yeah.
Until they give you a reason. Like I think the last live lesson that we had, we were telling a person who sent in like a review, like, oh, you just might want to straighten your wrist because having a crooked wrist leads to wrist injuries. And so just to alleviate that, that's like something you might want to do.
Yeah, it's those things that kind of concern me, is like positioning and stuff where I'm like, oh man, that's gonna cause some problems later on. But then like play however you want, you know.
Yeah,
whatever's comfortable. If it's not bothering you, or like it doesn't feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but that just kind of makes me think maybe we should get Mark on one of these days. If he's ever off, we should get him on because that was kind of like that. He learned ukulele in a time before before lessons were like super popular, and it was kind of like that Wild West of figuring out ukulele. Still, it was
that's where we all came from.
I think there's like several people who it's just like, oh, if we could get them on live lesson or something, right? Because like the way that we teach and then the way that a lot of people learn, it's like you can hear like a lot of people in Hawaii learn from like just feeling, like the feeling and not thinking about things or not breaking down things like, okay, I need to learn it in this set pattern or in this. Gotta really break it down into stuff. I know, like, I think I told a story before where like, my dad had a friend who was like a really good slack key guitarist, and he said that the way he learned was he learned how to play on like a 3-string guitar because like 3 of the strings were broken. And he was like playing, and as like a kid he was playing, and his parents were musicians, and his dad like heard like, who's that? Who's playing? And they like opened up the closet, and he was like playing in the closet with a 3-string guitar. And they're like, why are you playing that? That's broken. Here, like, I'll give you an actual guitar now and teach you how to play. But
that's cool.
Like, and that's all from him, like just listening and not like sitting down in front of somebody and having them go like, okay, you want to do this and this and this. It's just like I'm gonna just listen to whatever my dad plays and try and recreate it.
Noise.
Yeah.
Speaking of special guests, we have a special guest next month, since June's almost over. Next month we have he also has a podcast. We have Abe. Sorry, not Abe. Definitely not Abe. Wrong. The Grimace, not you. Okay, not
you. Wait your turn.
You wait your turn, Abe. The Grimace, sit down. Abe has his own ukulele podcast. He's going to be joining us.
Abe.
So it's nice. It's kind of our first crossover. We've never had a crossover before. So all you
podcast
comics, all you comics fans, we have a crossover with another ukulele podcast. I think Abe's ukulele. What is it? What is it called? Do you remember what it's called?
I think it's Ukulele Abe, right?
Ukulele Abe. Yeah. So check him out. We're gonna have him in. I think in like three.
But
3
spelled
weeks.
like Abe.
Yeah. Abe.
Yeah,
It's
but
basically-
you pronounce it. Abe.
Sit
searching-
down, Legremus. Not talking about you. Now,
Although we do need to get Abe
Yeah,
on.
we
at some
will.
point.
We'll
Yeah.
get you. We'll get you, Abe. We'll get you. So, yeah. So pretty soon, we're excited. He's actually, I think he's flying to Hawaii in general just to kind of do some like ukulele stuff, and he's flying special just to do the podcast. And then, because I don't think he's staying. I think he's coming in and he's leaving the same day.
Oh,
I think is
okay.
What's happening? We coordinated, and I was like, yeah, come to the podcast, and I think we're doing his too. So.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be really fun podcast filled day. We're gonna be talking a lot of ukulele that day. So we should just do live his podcast so our guys can see it live, and then while he records it, and then we do the Thursday live. And everyone can just watch 2 hours of
2 hours of
4 guys
yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
Well, we
This
can
hot, sweaty room.
Yeah.
we can see what we'll do. And like we should like treat him to something, so maybe we'll eat live too.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll do an ASMR.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I've chatted with him like via Twitter and stuff. He seems like a really cool dude, so I'm stoked to kind of have him on the show. And yeah, it'll be good. Crossover. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. What's your favorite crossover, Kahai? And why is it Street Fighter and Tekken?
Because I love Street Fighter and Tekken's okay.
What's your favorite crossover?
I don't know. I can only think of fighting games now. I don't know what other cross.
And why is it Aldrine and Aquila Strings?
It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Usagi Yojimbo. They did a crossover.
Stan, yes, I remember that.
Yep.
Stan Sakai, he's the man.
That is a Hawaii pull, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah. Stan's our boy. Stan, he's one of ours. How about you, Aaron? What's your favorite crossover? TV, whatever, like music.
What Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossover do you
Yeah, what's your favorite crossover? Movies, TV, music, anything.
I don't know.
Video games, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know.
Avengers is the safest answer.
Yeah, like because I'm not really into any.
How about music collaborations? Like, what's 2 musicians that you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't think that would mix it
That's
up.
pretty cool.
What's a musical?
Can't really come up with anything on the spot.
Was it-
well any of the
Elton John and Eminem.
No. Elton John and Tupac.
Oh snap! Yeah, that's right. You told me about that.
Yeah.
I'm still yet to listen to that.
Yeah, Ghetto Gospel,
Oh snap!
which was
NSFW.
orchestrated by Eminem. Yeah,
Oh.
I think Eminem was the producer on that.
Oh, there's 2
track.
X's.
Yeah,
So there's Elton
yeah.
John X Tupac X Eminem.
Yeah.
Oh, that's being greedy, man. Right on. So, let's take another question.
This one is from Jameson, and he said, "Can you show chunking again?
Mhm.
Is it a beginner strum?"
I mean, it's beginner strums are basically down, up, down, or down, 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 down. Once you start getting into these things, they're like beginner going to intermediate because you're starting to add technique to your stuff. Yeah. So beginner strumming is no technique at all. Is how I view it. And intermediate strumming is adding some chunks and some rolls and getting kind of a little bit fancy in there. And then more advanced stuff, it's like the 10-finger roll and all these unnecessary things. Okay. Like you don't even need that stuff. So chunking, basically, if you have, I tell people this, if you have good form, chunking should be easy. The good form is to kind of point to where you're going to strum, which is usually right here. If you point to yourself, that's going to be an up strum. You point down to the ground, that's going to be your down strum. So it's like this. And when you point down to the ground, notice my thumb is right here. And all you're going to do is you're going to strum down, and as you follow through, the thumb's going to stop it like this. And it's more effective if you use more fingers. So this is the part that people kind of, people miss. Is the more fingers you use, the more effective the chunk is. So if I was kind of strumming with my pointer finger on the C, and I wanted to have a nice big chunk in there, I'm going to use all 4 fingers. Okay, so if you use more fingers, you're getting more of that chunk. You can use 2 if you want to, but it's like the thinner it's gonna get. So the more fingers you use, the better. Because don't when we tell people point to yourself, point down to the ground, a lot of people like they interpret that as like make a point and stuff, and close your fist. You point to yourself and you point down. Not really. Like just kind of relax. It's just pointer finger is going to point to yourself, but that doesn't mean the other 3 fingers kind of have to do this. I'm just doing this to kind of get it out of the way so you can see the point and point down to the ground. So this kind of open hand, very relaxed hand. Your wrist is relaxed because it's mainly going to be the wrist. See that? I'm using my pointer finger to strum, but notice my other fingers are kind of nearby. So when I do the chunk, I just kind of, coil up the rest of my hand and then do the down. So from this. And another important aspect of this is not just kind of pointing to yourself, pointing down to the ground, but the way that you twist your wrist. So when you point to yourself, when you point down to the ground, you're not going, point to myself, not point down to the ground this way, with your forearm doing that. It's your wrist is kind of moving back and forth. So when you move your wrist down to point to the ground, you're kind of doing this, looking at your open palm this way almost, and then looking at the other side of your palm. I like to say, looking at your nails like a construction worker, and then salon like that. So watch, salon right there, my thumb. Bam, salon. So from yourself down to your so from open palm, back of the hand, open palm, back of the hand. So all of that should be super helpful in trying to learn the chunk. A lot of people have a hard time with that, and that's as best as I can, put it out there.
I think it's more just if you just think about focusing, like making sure that the thumb kind of covers all the strings, and then just, I guess if you're just focusing on that, making sure the thumb lands perfectly, then everything else just kind of follows, right? You just want your thumb. In fact, you can kind of do it without even hitting the strings. You're just like, it won't make much of a sound, but
well, you're just hitting with your thumb.
As long as your thumb kind of contacts, it stops the strings, because you're going to be strumming before that, and then I think you're just stopping the strings basically. It's just part of that motion.
I think the biggest misconception though people have about chunks is that it's 2 motions, right? That it's like you hit the string and then you gotta put it down.
It's one motion.
It's pretty much one motion.
Boom, and then stop.
I'll
tell you what it isn't. Like stopping the strings with your open palm. That's absolutely not what it is. If anyone else teaches you like, just stop it like this in the palm. No. You show them to me, and I will scold them for it. Shake my finger, be like, don't do that.
You don't want to do that because it makes it. The chunk is supposed to be a replacement for down strums, and if you use your open palm,
stops it.
Can't really.
It's not that same motion.
No, then that means you're out of position.
Like and what a lot of times what happens with the chunk is you'll do a chunk and then an up. And if you try to do a palm and then up, like some people can, but then if you listen to them, they're like a second late, and that second counts. In playing, so it's just something that you can try to avoid playing like that. Just it's better.
I mean, we're not saying that don't ever, never, ever do this, because you can, but that's just not the chunk. If someone's going to say like, oh, this is the chunk, it's like, it's not the chunk. That's something, but it's definitely not the chunk. Because I know some people will be like, oh, well, I play flamenco and we do this and we do like, we do this kind of stuff. Like do that kind of thing, but it's not the same. It's not the same technique. It's a totally different technique. So if you're playing flamenco and you're kind of doing that, I watch a lot of Coco, and what's cool about Coco is the animation of the characters, like playing guitar, is spot on. Accurate. It's super accurate, and they do all those like super fancy like rasquedos and all those fancy strums, and I watch. I'm like, that's pretty spot on. I was telling Heather, I was like, that is legit. They're doing this like thing where he like stops, He'd like do this weird one. I'm like, okay, so he's slapping the he's slapping his guitar, and then he's doing that up strum from from there.
They match it frame for frame.
Oh, hot dang!
from the reference
it's so good
video. Yeah.
So we're not saying, so before you even do that, we're not saying that this is not a technique or this is not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're just saying this is not a chunk.
Yeah.
Now move on.
Yeah. and to the reason why a lot of people teach it like that is just because it's the easier way, like for them to to
get the idea across.
Yeah. And this is the easy way to do the chunk, but it's like it's not really the chunk.
It's either that or just like what we've been saying this whole time. Like other people will try to do like whatever technique, and they think that that's what we're doing, but it's not.
A lot
you know what I mean? Like I think that has a lot to do with it. Yeah.
We also know like some teachers who's like, we know you know how to do the chunk, but you teach it differently than how you actually do it.
Yeah, because that's why, like, because they think that that's what they're doing, but that's actually not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
if you look at like
slow down the video,
of them playing, it's like no, you're playing the chunk right, but just the way.
I didn't want to mention that. I got in trouble last time for mentioning stuff like that.
It's not one specific person.
Yeah,
too.
It's a lot.
It's like and it's just, and I think that's like for a lot of music teaching too, and if people are teaching instruments, you hear that in like even bass guitar or guitar, where they'll say like, or like that anchoring thing, right? Like they'll tell you don't anchor your fingers, but then if you watch a lot of professional guitarists, like they're anchoring their fingers all the time. Why can they do that and I can't, right? And it's kind of like one of those old like traditions that like it kind of perpetuates, and then eventually somebody's like, oh, actually doesn't really matter.
It's easier. I mean, like there is some like advantages in not anchoring your fingers, but really like whatever will make music out of your instrument, like just do it that way.
Yeah.
As long as you're not hurting yourself, that's like the number one thing. As long as you're not giving yourself an injury, should be fine. Yeah. Go ahead. Next question.
So Jim said, I'm interested in hearing your views and comments on improving accuracy and placement with similar or parallel notes. So like an example he gave is like the intro to Brown Eyed Girl, right?
Where you're changing the spacing between your two harmonized fingers. Yeah, so how do you improve accuracy for that when it kind of changes?
I mean, same thing that you would do with anything is really one at a time, and that's how I practice it. I know there are better ways to do that and stuff, but let's just go with the most traditional way. When I was first starting out, when I was learning that, I didn't learn like Brown Eyed Girl that way. I played Brown Eyed Girl. Because when you listen to Brown Eyed Girl by Kyle Crater Boys, it's the guitar playing that, like in the intro, the guitar plays that. And the only time that the ukulele plays that riff is right at the end, and right at the end the riff goes. Yeah, if you guys listen to it again, Troy Fernandez never go. He never plays that. Okay, so based on that, I didn't learn it from that song. I learned it from we also taught it here. It's Olinda Road, where like Jake does do something like that. So I did not have good accuracy when I was first doing that, and all I had to do was take it one step at a time, and it was like super tedious. I totally remember this, and just going. Do that over and over
between one note, one set of notes to the other,
next set of
and
notes.
You just keep going back and forth, and then starting from the beginning again and retracing your steps.
Like I remember doing that for what seemed like hours, but I think it was days. Like I want to say hours, but it's not. I did that a lot, and then because it wasn't just that I'm like, okay, well if I can do that on that key, I can do that. And then came a song by Pure Heart called "Crazy Without You" because that's in the same album. Which I was not good at either. Same thing, I would go Yeah.
Just those two sets of
And then-
notes just keep going back and forth.
Until like my fingers knew like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
We get it.
Yeah.
And then
Got it. The
like,
spacing difference.
move it
Yeah.
up again. And then I'm like, okay, well, how far does this, I'll tell you my exact like, like process. So I was like, okay, well, if I can do this, and then like Jake kind of does. Okay, let's go back to in the road. So if it's like, I can extend that to based
Using
on
the same shapes.
using the same shapes as Crazy Without You. And if you watch, I think Music Theory or something like that, where we talk about the
gaps and the no
gaps.
gaps.
No gap, 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 no gap, no gap, gap. And that's where that came from. Is because I practiced that over and over and over and over. And that was because I wasn't thinking of it as like, okay, well, it's the F note, then the G note, A note, B flat, C, then what is that? D, then E, then F and stuff. That would have saved so much time. But it's actually good because you're looking at it as the shapes instead. I think it's like either
102.
Is it 102? Yeah.
I think so.
But it's like
Ukulele
old,
102.
like the old 102, not the new 102, the old 102.
The new 102 has it too,
Harmony?
though. I think.
Does it?
Yeah,
Did I teach harmony that way?
Yeah,
no
you
gap.
and you taught it.
Ukulele 102 week 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, you taught it with like the C and the E string, and then the E and the A string too.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so-
Yeah, and that's kind of how I figured that out. So that's a great question because like I've completely forgotten about that until you just reminded me just now and how hard that was to get down. So I would advise you to kind of look at the pattern and then transpose it to a different key and just drill yourself over and over, and because that's the only way that you're gonna.
So those keys were F and G.
F and G, but you can do it in A too.
Okay. Yeah. And
But then, getting from the no gap to the gap is key, because you can always go gap to the next gap just fine.
Yeah,
but it's a
'cause
no
you're
gap to
holding
the
that.
gap. Yeah. Do it with these two fingers, then do it with these two fingers, which is even harder. So the no gap with these two fingers is ridiculous. And you're probably thinking, why would I do it like that? There's going to be times when you're gonna do it like that, and I'm not even joking you. Because for this particular one, there's a part where I play the A with like that kind of open B. So instead of this kind of A, I'd want that in there. So because I wanted that in there, and then I would do the harmony line, doing it that way when I'm playing A. So yeah, just drills, man. I mean, like, so how can we do that more efficiently and better, guys?
Well, I think I learned like the same thing on guitar, like a lot, and it's you want it to be like the thing with like when you do a major scale, right? Like, and how the major scale is a shape, and where you can do it on any note really, and not know. Even if you don't know like
what the name of it is.
Yeah, and what note you're gonna play next is, right? Like in your head you can hear like, oh, the next note is supposed to be a whole step away, so I'm gonna play 2 steps like ahead. So it's the same thing with those things where it's just like you wanna that pattern really to be ingrained, where it's like, okay, I have a gap here. Oh, no gap, no gap, 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 no gap, no gap,
Yeah.
gap, gap.
Or
gap.
actually, I mean, really, you're not even thinking about that at that point. Your fingers are just moving because it kind of practiced it that many times, where it just like moves automatically, right?
And I mean, and you see it too. Like, I mean, you see the patterns, and you like if you depending on what key you're in, you would know that like the next one's gonna be this and this.
Yeah. So depending on where you start, you kind of know what the next one is and the one after that.
Yeah, and I would suggest like doing every single kind of technique that you would know. So for example, like just kind of playing it straight, or like sliding to it. And you can even do like pull-offs and stuff.
So for people who like want to start learning this, can you show them like what you just played, like that exact pattern, and then like
and why?
Well, like it's just going up, I think, and showing them. That.
Okay, so the main basics of this is that you're playing your melody line notes on the E string. So if we're in a key of F, here's our F note. So in in the scale of F would be whole, half, whole, half. So let's just take a look at the first 4 notes, which is this, and this. Whole, half, basically. From that F, whole, half. Just that. Okay? Just for now. Now, in music, the thirds will give you a harmony. What that means is if you're playing 1, so 1, 2, 3, so the third up, this will harmonize that 1, which is this is the same thing as this. So if you play those 2 notes together, they sound nice.
Yeah. So you're playing the first note of the scale and the third note of the scale together.
So that's harmony, kids. So if I move 1 up, then that means I have to move 1 up on the that same string. So here's my A string. So you're probably wondering, like, hey, you're moving 2 on the on the E string. It's like, nope. As far as frets, yes, I'm moving 2, but I'm talking about scales, the scale steps,
notes in the scale.
Yeah. So scale. Remember we said whole, half. So for myself, this is the next one going up. And for here, remember the next one going up is this. It's 1. So from here to here, that means this. If I go up 1. Be that.
Yeah, so that is the second note of the scale and the fourth note of the scale.
So
together.
1 and 3, 2 and 4, which would mean 3 and 5, and then 4 and 6, 5 and 7, and 6 and 8. And then you can go 7 and 2, basically, or 9. You could call it 9 if you want to, and 8 and 10.
So explain the no gap and gap thing.
What no gap
just
means?
really quickly, because we already have it.
Yeah, right. So what that means is that, like, if it's a visual thing. So if you're here, there's no gap between the first fret and the 0 fret.
On the E and the A.
On the E and the A strings.
There's no like fret gap.
Yeah, fret gap.
Yeah.
So there is a gap here. See that right there? There's a gap on the between the E and A, and there's another gap, and then no gap, and then gap. So it's no gap, no gap, gap.
For me, like the easy way that I remember it is that, well, like the next step up is either gonna have a gap or no gap.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times when I'm like, I don't even know the key that I'm playing in, and I'm just like trying to figure it out. I'm like, yeah, I'll shoot for 1.
Try one or the other.
Yeah.
If it's not one, it's the other.
Yeah. And then once you get the other, like once you figure out that next one, it's like, okay, so if it's like there's 2, I'm playing a gap and then another gap. Then I know that the next one is gonna be no gap, no gap, gap, no gap, no gap, gap. It kind of it always goes in 2s, like no gap, no gap.
So another trick. So here's one. I don't know if I've ever revealed this. There's another magic reveal and stuff. Here's one that goes in my mind. And it's about scale shape. Not scale, but chord shapes. So F. Actually, this would be easier than G. So G. So you can kind of see the shape instead of the F. So you can visually see the shape. The next time you're gonna see the shape in the same key is for 4, which is up here. And then again at 5, which is up here. What that is a C and D, so G, C, D. Okay, so I know where C is and I know where D is. Those are the only 2 that's going to be the no gap. So this, this first one we're gonna begin with, and then the others are gonna be gap. The next gap is
it's gonna follow the shape.
Follow the shape, and the next gap is gonna follow the shape.
Makes
Boom,
sense.
boom, boom. Like, that's
makes
something
so
that
much
I've always
sense.
known, but I don't think I've ever
Yeah,
revealed this to
kind of
anybody.
like.
Shh, hush, hush, hush. That was for free, guys. That was for free.
Makes so much sense. Wow.
The gaps too, those have chords too, where they're the minor chords,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So
there's also the A minor and B minor. Yes.
So you can play the whole like chord effectively. That you can play the whole chord family using just the G, and then G minor chord shape.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
think
Yeah.
guys mine just blew too. Like
That makes sense too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Because that's totally what I do also.
That's how you think of it in your head.
Yeah. I've always like kind of looked at it that way. That's how I always know where the no gaps are going to be.
Oh, okay.
That's also a thing too. Where
Sorry, audio.
Yeah, sorry, audio listeners. That
it'll
make for you plus on that one.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense if you can see this.
That's also something that I use like in I don't think we talked about it before. I use that for like if I have to improvise or I have to pick something, I'll just play those chord shapes.
Yeah, it's just I mean we hear we hear a lot of like ukulele players do the and it's based on that shape.
Yeah.
So just kind of using those shapes a lot makes it easier to kind of know where the no gaps are going to be.
And then it's just like sprinkling into if you're playing, like say you're playing a song where it's like going from G to D, then it's just like, I'll play like a little bit of A minor here, a little bit of B minor here, and then making sure I land back on the G chord shape or whatever. So it's like, I think a lot of people like when they look at how much notes you play, it seems like a lot, but
it's the same like.
Yeah, you're just basing it off of shapes more so than individual notes.
And
these notes go together, so I'm gonna play them.
And that's where
stagger them. So
that's where too like people like think that when you're playing, you're thinking about stuff. But then, like, if you think about it with shapes instead, and you play it with shapes, it's more about like muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're like, just like, then I know I gotta move both of my fingers 2 frets up, or I gotta move one of my fingers 1 fret up, and I'll keep the other one like this. So, a lot of times I think that's where people say like, you just gotta learn by feel, and that's like where you're feeling it. But then a lot of it is too like muscle memory, and just you get so used to playing these things, and it's not necessarily like the same song over and over, but it's just like the same patterns or the same things over and over that it's like, it feels natural to play these things. It doesn't feel weird.
I feel like I have more tricks up my sleeve. I kind of want to see if I can do a solo secrets too, see if there's more, because there are a lot of like shortcuts, because solo secrets is basically a shortcut. Like if you don't want to go through all that trouble of learning every single note and whatever, then we narrowed it down to like however many notes. And then if you don't want to bother learning however many different chords and stuff, we narrow it down to however many chords, like we or how many shapes. I think we just narrowed it down by shape and stuff. And I think there's a bunch of other like tips and tricks that I think I can share enough for a volume 2. Yeah, I gotta really
I gotta write it out.
I gotta write it out, man. Like now that's kind of inspiring me to like, man, I think I can. I think I can do more. I think I can squeeze his brain just a little bit more. It's more juice in his brain. It's been 10, 11 years, but there's still a little bit of juice.
And I think it's those things too, like if people spent like a lot of time learning, eventually they'll come to the same results, right? Like they'll come to it naturally, they should. But then it's just like, we'll just give it to you now, so you don't have to spend.
It's the season pass, guys. What it is, like you video gamers out there, you know what I'm talking about. You buy the season pass, unlocks everything.
The other thing for Jim too, though, learning about like where exactly to place your fingers and position. Something that is probably going to help you a lot is getting it wrong. Because when you get it wrong and you hear that the harmony is not right, then you're like,
you don't want to do that again.
oh yeah, I know
Yeah.
for sure now that I have to play it like this every single time. So you shouldn't be afraid to, you know, not be precise.
Yeah.
Like it's just that's how you're gonna start, and
You
then
can feel it in your body that it's wrong.
yeah.
That's where you learn. That's
I know people like are uncomfortable with like playing it like that, but yeah, that's where like Victor Wooten says like, you know what people should learn how to solo on or like improvise on? The chromatic scale. Because when you learn to do that, then you're not afraid of any note, right? And you know how to like fix anything that you play. So it's the same thing too. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, those. Any last minute questions that we may have? Hopefully this makes up for us not showing our songs.
I think that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have a few more minutes and stuff. Kai, is there any business that we want to talk about?
I don't know. What is today's date? So pretty soon, the next monthly lesson is gonna come out, right?
Yeah.
Like for
I did a teaser on my Instagram for next month's lesson.
Oh, yeah.
I had my costume.
Yeah.
I was wearing my costume on Instagram, and my friend, good friend of mine, Uncle Ian, I was talking about yesterday. He came up to us in the show, and he's like, "Dude, what were you doing with that on? Like, why were you dressed like that?" I was like, "It's for next month's lesson. It's for work. it's for work, basically." And he's like, "I gotta see you. You gotta see what that's all about. It's fun.
There's the Pride Parade.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess that I could just. I should have said that instead.
Supportive.
Yeah, I
being
was
supportive.
just trying to be supportive of the Pride Parade, and I do love those folks. By the way, I heard it was a success.
Really?
We had our Kauai had their
all
first
the organizers and
had their
everything,
first Pride Parade, and good for them. It was just down the street, but I wanted to go check it out. So my Heather's like, "Oh, the kid's gonna sleep at like whatever time, like 9:30.
You gotta keep
Parade
her on
starts at like
on the
9
schedule.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I want to just go there with myself and stuff, and but I don't know. I didn't because I was like, nah, I'll just hang out with my family instead. But I heard good things about it, so congratulations. Yeah, so Pride is a thing here in Hawaii now, which is awesome because a lot of Hawaiian music, like falsetto and just Hawaiian music in general and stuff. I think here in Hawaii, like having pride in whatever you identify as, like, has always been a thing. They've always been prideful and stuff. So it's like hatred towards that wasn't really a thing here.
Hawaii.
Not even like the olden
Hawaii,
days. Yeah, it's been super accepting. Yeah,
and Hawaii is like a kind of a big like cultural melting pot. So just like a lot of, I think, things that other people like might not experience because they don't experience other cultures, right? It's just like. Oh, I live right next to that guy. Like, I've known that all my life. But I don't know what you're talking about. Sure.
So it's cool.
I think unintentionally, like the song we're gonna do, right? Yeah. There's a movie coming out too.
Yes.
So that I was like, oh yeah, that was planned all this time.
Planned all along. But I'm looking at Aaron's beautiful shirt right here, and I kind of want to talk about this.
In 1 month, we'll be here.
Yeah. So in 1 month, we will be at the San Francisco. It's no longer called the Uktoberfest. It's a summer Uke Fest.
Not in October.
It's basically the same exact festival with the same exact people. It's gonna be us. It's gonna be Cynthia Lynn. It's gonna be Ukulele. It's gonna be Steven Espanol. It's gonna be Craig and Sarah. It's gonna be Abe Lagrimas. Now you can stand up, Abe. Now we're talking about you, buddy. So it's gonna be us. It's gonna be awesome. We love it. This is gonna be our third time doing this one. I don't know if they're gonna keep doing it because Cynthia lives in Hawaii now. Like, she doesn't live in San Francisco anymore, and that must have been tough on on her and her crew to kind of set this up with her being so far away. But she's actually really good with all that hands-on kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I would go to this. Go to this. Do yourself a favor. Go to this San Francisco Summer Uke Fest. So I think it's sfukefest.com.
Yeah,
sfukefest.com. So check that out. July 27th to the 28th. It's gonna be good fun. There's gonna be like workshops, gonna be jams, gonna be performances and stuff. It's gonna be meet and greets. It's gonna be great. I mean, the meet and greet is basically, hey, I'll drink you. Come here for a second. Like that's the meet and greet. Don't worry. I don't care if I'm halfway through my my musubi. I'll come by you and hang out and stuff. Not like some people, Kahai. Nah. Kai charges like $5 for all that.
And Kahai will be there too.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You will be there. Don't charge people. Can you say right now on the microphone that you're not gonna charge anyone?
No, because at Denver, I didn't even eat.
So you're saying you're so popular.
No.
It's so high in demand.
When everybody else went to eat, I stayed and hung out, and there's nobody else there. But I still stayed and hung out just in case,
just to make sure the booth was safe.
Yeah.
Right on, yeah. So it's gonna be good fun. It's gonna be the three of us. If you ever want to say hi to Kai, he will be there. I will be there. If you want to ask me stuff about video games and and what else? Tennis. What? I was gonna say cards. You can ask Kai about cards. Don't come to me about that stuff. And Aaron's gonna be there. He can give you some like fitness tips and stuff. And like how do I effectively run a marathon?
Or you could.
Oh, actually, the San Francisco Marathon is that weekend.
Oh yeah,
too. Yeah.
Oh, no, you're not gonna do it. Obviously, I need him. I need him in full strength at the end of the day. I don't want him like sitting down in a chair while we do our set.
You can ask us about ukulele too.
Yeah, I guess. That's,
if you want.
If you want to, I mean, go ahead and ask Mr. Lagrimas about that. Yeah, if you ukulele questions, it's a Craig and Sarah's for.
Yeah. Or there's tickets available, and then it looks like the jam on Saturday is gonna just be free.
Yeah, but that's like RSVP now because they have a huge group. That San Francisco ukulele group is huge, and I think those guys got to it first. So I don't know how much is left for that Explosion Jam. She really knows how to market, man. They're marketing Explosion Jam. So good stuff. It's fun. Those guys are great. They're good fun, and San Francisco's an awesome crowd. So
yeah, we're hoping we can do some stuff while we're there and hang out with people. So yeah, we're looking forward to it too.
Yeah, we're looking to hang out. So what can they look forward to, Kai, when they meet you?
I don't know.
Can they go like this? They just like make eye contact with you, like from across the room, and they go like this.
No, I'm really bad at that. But if you specifically ask for it, because like even Alan, who's like our longtime member, who I would say is actually like our friend, like we consider
we're friends. We're friends.
Yeah. And he came up and he's like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you finally." And I shook his hand, and then he's like, "Oh man, I gotta give you a hug." And I was like, "Yeah, I should give you a hug." it has been a
bring
long
it
time
in, bring it in, Alan. Bring it in.
I'm super. If you want a very awkward experience, you can come say hi to me because that's pretty much it.
The marathon's over at 10 a.m., Aaron. You can run the marathon and go do the rest of the festivities, I guess. But right.